Hello. Before we jump into today's podcast, which is an awesome one, I just wanted to do a quick shout out that in the month of May, it is Natural Medicine Week, which is a beautiful week. Actually, this year it is for a whole month. Natural Medicine Week is run by Australian Traditional Medicine Society, and I am the ambassador for Natural Medicine Week for the fourth year in a row, which I'm really proud of because I love to share the power that can come when you use natural medicine in resolving health issues. So this year I have been asked to co-host a webinar on Tuesday, the 6th of May at 12 p.m. Sydney, Australia time. And my webinar is all about the 3 steps to end your mind-body burnout. So if you're someone who's struggling with burnout, energy issues, gut issues, mood swings, inflammatory symptoms, and you're running this perpetual cycle of stress, overwhelm, overdoing, people pleasing, then this webinar is for you. What we'll be covering is how burnout is impacting your health and your life. I'll go over the 3 essential steps to end your body burnout for good. I'll also cover why your symptoms keep returning, even though you might be eating a good diet, taking the supplements, or doing the protocols. And we'll be uncovering and showing you how to heal the deepest root causes of body burnout, including stress patterns and past trauma. And finally, I will go over the importance of functional lab testing and looking deeper into your body systems and how to actually do these tests and why these tests go beyond what GPs, medical specialists test for, and how it can help you in your healing journey. So if you would like to come along to this webinar, I'll pop in the show note links the link that you can join. It is free, and yeah, I'd love to see you there and to celebrate natural medicine.
Hello and welcome to the Ending Body Burnout Show. We are your hosts, Chris and Philly, co-founders of a multi-award-winning functional medicine practice, serving busy people with energy, mood, and gut issues.
While busyness, addictive doing, people-pleasing, and perfectionism might be the norm, it's not normal, and it's a major contributor to health issues.
Our goal with this show is to give you a holistic root cause approach to healing your body so that you don't have to continue doctor or diet hopping or popping a gazillion supplements hoping something might stick.
So get ready to heal your body, get your spark back, deeply connect with yourself, and step into the life of your dreams.
Let's dive in.
Hello, welcome to the Ending Body Burnout Show. Today, Chris and I are talking about all things mushrooms with Dr. Anna Sitkoff. So this was a really cool conversation. We started off talking about it in scope of body burnout and how mushrooms have these beautiful health benefits that can support energy, mood, gut issues, and also immune system issues. But we also dig into the supplements that are out there that contain mushrooms. And it was very interesting and alarming to learn from Anna that a lot of the brands are not using the amount of mushrooms that they are suggesting they're using in their products. So therefore, the concentration and therapeutic effects are really diluted. Anna does have her own mushroom brand and line of supplements. So we dig into what that actually looks like for when you're looking out for using mushrooms as a supplement. We also dig into foraging and wildcrafting and growing your own mushrooms and cooking mushrooms. So I think you're really going to, learn a lot from this conversation, but also it's a really fun, enjoyable listen as well. So before we dive in, the official bio of Dr. Anna Sitkoff. She is a licensed naturopathic doctor and medicinal mushroom expert with over a decade of clinical research experience. As co-founder and chief science officer of Medicinals, She formulates evidence-based mushroom supplements designed to support immune, lung, and nervous system health, utilizing bioavailable fruiting body extracts for optimal results. A recognized leader in her field, Anna is passionate about educating practitioners and patients on the therapeutic potentials of mushrooms. She frequently lectures on functional medicine, women's health, and evidence-based herbalism, advocating for the integration of mushrooms into modern healthcare. So let's dive into this beautiful mushroomy conversation.
G'day everyone and welcome to this episode of the Ending Body Burnout Show. Philly and I are excited to be here with you, and all the way from over in America, we have Anna Sitkoff to chat to us today on the podcast. Welcome, Anna.
Thank you so much for having me.
No worries. You're from a very beautiful part of the United States, and it's a pleasure to have you. You're in a beautiful part of the United States. We're in Tasmania, which is arguably the best part, the most beautiful part of Australia. So here we are.
Awesome. So when we have guests come on to our Ending Body Burnout show, we love to just dive straight into the personal stuff, especially for practitioners who are coming on, because we do find that a lot of people get into the natural medicine field when you have had your own health journey experience. So are you happy to dive into what that looked like for you?
Yeah. Yeah. So I'd say like a week before I started medical school, my father died. And then I started school like almost immediately. And then during that time, my mom also had a relapse in her Lyme disease and had chronic fatigue and just grief. And my brother relapsed. He's a recovering drug addict. And so there was a lot going on with my family. And meanwhile, I was just like pouring all of my grief energy into medical school. And I thought I was fine, energy or grief gives you a lot of energy. And then, every like break that we had from school, I'd always just go home to take care of my mom. And it was just kind of like it never stopped. But I was young and just kept going. And then graduated medical school in 2020. So also like COVID times, started practicing in my residency. And that just was extremely stressful. And it was probably the most difficult time in my life as far as mental health goes. I'd never really experienced depression or anxiety before, or insomnia. And it was just really, really hard. And so, after that first year of practice, where I was just like running on, I don't even know where that energy was coming from anymore, I got very tired, like deeply tired. Even though I was sleeping better, I was waking up tired. I was tired all day long. I would definitely say that I had chronic fatigue. It was like this deep fatigue. It was burnout, really, really intense burnout. And it was obviously just from like all of the grief and stress of the past 5 to 6 years. And luckily, I had a wonderful support system and so many tools and awareness of like what chronic fatigue and burnout looks like that I could name it. And I got out of that space. It took a while. And I think that as far as like the things that were most helpful for me, other than like my amazing partner, was there's something called low dose naltrexone that I don't know if you've heard of that, but it's a great remedy for chronic fatigue. I used that in a lot of cold water therapy, especially in the mornings, and just like nourishing myself over time, and was able to kind of get myself out of that space. And now looking back, it's like I'm grateful that I experienced all of that, because I'm definitely, I think, a better doctor. I can like understand so much more of what patients are going through after experiencing that difficulty. And yeah, I think that that's kind of like my most significant health journey that I've experienced.
That's huge. What about, like, how did you address the grief side of things, or was that just time?
I think that was time.
Mm.
Yeah.
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 Time and talking a lot about my
Mm.
dad and
Mm.
just like not burying it away, but letting myself feel it and talk about it. And I actually, yeah, I got like very interested in just like the dying process. I did like a death doula apprenticeship, and I think
Wow.
that being more in touch with the dying process and just thinking about it more for myself um, and helping others to have like a better dying experience was quite helpful for
Mm.
my grieving process too.
Mm. So was this during this time, was this when you were getting into medicinal mushrooms? Because this is your like specialty, your field of expertise. Was this part of your father's like cancer journey as well? And that's where you got into mushrooms, or was it more afterwards?
I was, I think I was exposed to mushrooms early in probably in my like bachelor's degree. I studied nutrition, so I was aware of using mushrooms more as like food medicine, and I knew that they like played a role in immune health. Um, And then it was that my dad's Chinese medical doctor, who was working alongside his oncologist, prescribed a mushroom blend. And I had already been studying herbal medicine at that time, but mushrooms were really not like a huge part of that herbal medicine training.
Mm.
And so I just got really interested. And um, I had already moved to the Pacific Northwest, and so it's just like mushroom heaven here.
Yeah. As
And
in when like foraging, you can just go out and
oh
is that what you
yeah,
mean by
they're just
heaven?
yes,
Yeah.
yeah, they're just everywhere. Yep,
Yeah.
you can go out in the forest, and it's almost impossible to not find a mushroom when
Yeah.
you're even just like walking down the street here. It's like
Mm.
you see a log, there's probably going to be a mushroom on it. And so yeah, I got interested in like why my dad's Chinese medical doctor prescribed this. Like I thought that was very, very interesting, and I just wanted to know more. And whenever there's like a subject that I want to know about that I don't know about, I really get a little obsessed and I just like dive all in. And so I just, yeah, started doing a lot of my own research. I was working at an apothecary in Seattle, and I had the opportunity to teach classes. And so I decided to teach classes on the medicinal mushrooms of the Pacific Northwest, which helped me learn more about them. My interest at that time too was largely about the like extraction methods of the mushrooms around here. So I'd take groups out and we'd harvest the mushrooms and cut them up and process them in various ways for medicinal uses. And that's like where I think a lot of my passion for them started. And then when I was in naturopathic medical school, I had the opportunity to do laboratory research on this lymphocytic leukemia cancer cell line, which is the kind of cancer my dad had, and using different extraction methods with that cancer cell line. And so I thought that that was just a really wonderful opportunity to kind of have that kind of experience. And then yeah, I was given other wonderful opportunities I wrote the medicinal mushroom chapter in the textbook of natural medicine. And it was really like all of these opportunities to learn more made me more interested.
Mm.
And it's like I feel like even now, like over 10 years into this journey of medicinal mushrooms, I'm like still hungry for information.
Yeah. What else
And
can I
it just
learn
seems
about
never ending.
mushrooms?
Yeah, well, it's like everything from like the harvesting to the processing and making medicine and the laboratory research. And now it's like I have my supplement company and I use mushrooms in my medical practice. And it's just, it always, yeah, there's always like something more to learn from them and
Yeah.
practice.
Yeah, I think we'll dive into all of that.
Yeah.
Just something you said was just like, oh yeah, that's so true. So when I started nutritional medicine, mushrooms weren't a part of the training, and it sounds like herbal medicine, it's kind of not part of the training either. So it is this missing piece from a practitioner point of view in terms of the education that they get. That yeah, like it's very interesting. that isn't part of the curriculum.
Yeah, especially in the West. I mean, I think there's just like some deep-rooted mycophobia or just like some fear of
Mm,
mushrooms where it hasn't really been part of our culinary culture or medicine culture, that it's just yeah, it's just like not really part of our education at all then
yeah.
either.
Yeah. Okay. So you've created your own medicinal mushroom line of supplements, Lucidium, if I pronounced that right.
Lycium.
Lucium. Okay. So I want to ask, because I know that listeners might hear that term medicinal mushrooms, and I know that there's a lot of like fanfare and conversation around psilocybin mushrooms. So can you talk about like, is this what you're talking about, or is it something else, and what type of mushrooms and formulas are you talking about?
This is it here, yeah?
Yeah,
Yeah.
there you
Oh,
go.
beautiful. Yeah. Thanks for bringing that up. Yeah. So psilocybe is a genus of psychedelic mushroom. So psilocybe cubensis is what most people are familiar with, probably, and that contains the compound psilocybin.
Hmm.
And that is not, I don't practice really with that compound. When I talk about medicinal mushrooms, I'm mostly not talking about psilocybe species. I'm talking about other mushrooms that are not psychoactive
Yeah.
for the most part. And I don't have psilocybin in my products. I think that psilocybe mushrooms are absolutely medicinal, and that's not what I'm talking about.
Yeah. So the difference there is the psilocybin, or you've just used a different name, is
Yeah, so the psilocybin is the compound
yeah.
in the psilocybe mushroom.
Okay. Yeah. And the
Yeah.
difference is those are psychedelic as opposed to the other types of mushrooms are like medicinal, healing, and supportive to other body systems without the psychedelic component to it. Yeah.
Yeah, the other mushrooms won't make you feel high.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what mushrooms are you using then? Like which ones are
Yeah.
the big ones that it's like, oh, I just love these. Everyone needs to be taking these mushrooms.
Yeah, I think it really depends on like what body system we're talking about.
Yeah.
But I think that it's like right now, where I am, close to Seattle, Washington, it is a crazy influenza season. It's like everyone is sick. And so I'm thinking mostly about the mushrooms that are going to be really immune modulating. And so reishi mushroom, turkey tail mushroom, maitake mushroom, these are kind of some of the big players that people may be familiar with, and then even just like shiitake mushrooms. So these medicinal mushrooms aren't just, it's not like there's medicinal and then there's edible. There's
Mm,
really this like Venn diagram of like a lot of edible mushrooms are also medicinal.
yeah.
And you don't need to take a supplement. You can
Mm,
just cook them up and eat your maitake mushrooms and your shiitake mushrooms and your lion's mane mushrooms,
mm.
um, and get your medicine that way.
Yeah, cool. Well, if we're talking about maybe body systems or symptoms, so there's
Hmm.
three big symptoms that we see in our practice, and also, as part of like the presentation of body burnout. So energy, so fatigue, brain fog, even sleep issues, mood that might show up as anxiety, depression, or something in between, and gut issues. So if you're thinking about those three, energy, mood,
Yeah.
gut, where does your brain go in terms of this mushroom will be better over this one?
Yeah. So energy wise, I really think about reishi mushroom. Ganoderma lucidum is the most kind of common genus of reishi mushroom that people would be using. And reishi can do a number of things. So it can both help with energy, but can also help you to feel more relaxed.
Mm.
And a lot of mushrooms have this kind of what's called like an amphoteric effect. It's like they do kind of like what your body needs, and they have like some dual action there. And
Mm.
so reishi can help to increase morning cortisol levels. So oftentimes with like burnout and chronic fatigue, that morning cortisol ends up being kind of on the lower side, and that's why people like wake up feeling still tired.
Mm.
And so reishi can help to improve those morning cortisol levels, but it can also help with sleep and relaxation. and kind of helping your nervous system to feel less activated.
Yeah.
And then cordyceps as well can be quite helpful for energy, as far as kind of like chronic fatigue goes, and for endurance as well. And then lion's mane, I think of kind of number one for brain fog that comes along with burnout. And and then really too, it's like with stress and burnout that can add to a lot of like gastrointestinal inflammation, which can mess with your gut microbiome. So like the balance of your good and bad gut microbes and cause things like intestinal permeability, and mushrooms play a huge role there. So mushrooms contain beta glucans and chitin, which are two kinds of fiber that can really help to feed your gut microbes, and help to increase the good bugs that we want, like bifidobacterium and lactobacillus. And then the chitin in mushrooms is actually broken down into this constituent called NAG, or N-acetylglucosamine, that can really help with the gut barrier function, and can help with like intestinal permeability. And so yeah, mushrooms can be really helpful for gastrointestinal wellness, and that's kind of a piece of them that's often not talked about.
Well, actually, I haven't heard any of that about the gut side of things. Like, I'm aware of the lion's mane for brain fog, and the other ones you talked about for, we often hear about mushrooms really good for the brain and energy and mood. But yeah, so they have healing benefits for the gut as well.
Yeah, yeah. And then the other thing too is like, with burnout, there's often some like people get sick a lot. It's like a telltale sign. It's like if you're getting sick all the time, there's probably some nervous system dysregulation going on, and mushrooms generally are all going to be really supportive for the immune system and kind of helping with your first defenders for the immune response.
Yeah. If you were using it as food as medicine, so if you were picking the mushrooms or purchasing them, like how much are we talking about in order to have a therapeutic effect if you were eating them? Or is it more the way that we talk about food as medicine, that it's all going to be helpful? Like, do you know what I mean? So if someone's like,
yeah,
I want to eat more for my immune system, how much do I need to eat?
Yeah, I would aim for like 10 grams a day.
Okay.
Is it? Yeah. A lot of the research is like between like 5 and 18 grams of mushrooms per day, which is like a pretty reasonable amount. And I recommend to always cook your mushrooms. It helps to bring out the medicinal compounds, and I also think they just taste better that way. But
How do you cook mushrooms? Like just saute them on the frying pan kind of thing, or boil them?
I love to saute them in a little bit of fat. I usually use butter, and then I like right when they're almost done, I put a little bit of tamari on top, and that helps. It just seems like it like softens them up a little bit more, and then that tamari flavor just gets like really penetrates in there, and it's delicious.
What's tamari?
Oh, you don't know
Tamari is
what
like a
tamari?
gluten-free soy. It's a gluten-free soy sauce.
You probably know that. It's probably in a bottle without a label in our cupboard.
I don't usually buy it. I usually buy coconut aminos instead.
I'm sure you could do that with coconut aminos too.
We at our local farmers market, which they sell vegetables, but there's a guy who's local who sells mushroom packs. So you buy like a brick, and then you water it every day, and it grows the most amazing mushrooms. Last year we got one, I think it was yellow oyster mushrooms. And it was just like, it was so cool the way it like sprouted out of the brick. And then it was like, we had so many mushrooms from it. Yellow oysters, do you think about those from a medicinal point of view? Like,
absolutely. Yes. So oyster mushrooms are, just like all of the mushrooms, so they have these medicinal compounds in their cell wall that help to keep the immune system strong. But oyster mushrooms in particular have the highest amounts of this very specific compound called ergothioneine that is an amazing antioxidant. And we have transporters in like all over our bodies that are very specific to ergothioneine. And the more ergothioneine in the system, the better, as far as I can tell
Yeah.
from the research. So yeah, oysters are going to be your best way to get that. And yeah, and there's also just like great research with using oyster mushrooms to prevent respiratory illness and help with allergies
Yeah.
and they're
Yeah.
delicious. I think they're like one of my favorite edible mushrooms for sure.
They were super nice because
They were tasty.
my kids are,
Yeah.
it's a bit hit and miss whether they're going to eat them. But when I fried those ones up and I did it in olive oil, coconut aminos, and organic honey, like just raw honey,
Ooh.
it was so good. And my kids were like, this is amazing.
Yeah, that's so interesting. Yeah, so a lot of the research on oyster mushroom for respiratory illness is with children, and it was like seeing if kids missed less days of school if they were given this like it was an oyster mushroom syrup. And so it was like oyster mushroom water extract to get the polysaccharides out with honey.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Oh, look at me being medicinal in my kitchen.
Yeah.
Okay, so if we go back to the roots, so foraging, because you mentioned that earlier, and you have taken students out to forage. I love the idea of it, but it freaks me out that I might pick something that might be poisonous. So, I mean, obviously there's going to be different varieties of mushrooms in different areas, but how do you do it? What precautions do you take? Like, how do you learn to know what's going to be helpful and what might be harmful?
Yeah, I mean, when I was first learning, I would take like 3 different mushroom ID books with me, and I would like double check all of the mushroom ID and make sure it's like, was the stem hollow or was the stem not hollow? Like, was it gilled? Like, where was it polypore? Like, there's so many parts of the mushroom to pay attention to, like the cap of the mushroom, underneath the cap, the stem. All of these features look different in different mushrooms and also lookalikes of common mushrooms. And so that's one thing is like get a lot of books.
Get a lot of books.
Go
I'm pretty
out,
sure there's
like
apps these days as well that you could probably have
there's
like
probably
3 different apps.
Yeah, I'm sure that those exist. I would recommend going out with somebody who knows what they're doing and what they're looking for. A lot of the medicinal mushrooms in the Pacific Northwest, where I was teaching my classes, it's like there are really not many poisonous lookalikes of the medicinal mushrooms here. So,
Yeah, okay. Oh, here we go. Chris is
I
being
found your
techie.
blog and your list.
amazing. Yeah, so this blog was like the original passion project. In like 2015, I started this blog. Yeah.
So
That's
cool.
so cool. I love it.
Those like really
So can I
woody
just say
mushrooms- Oh, yeah.
something? So people, like if you live in you're in Washington, hey?
Washington State.
Yeah.
Washington State area, you don't need 3 books, just use this part of the blog.
Or probably
Yeah.
this would be the 4th.
Because Anna has
exactly.
triple
Yeah.
checked.
But then when you're out foraging and that sort of stuff, like you were saying, there's lookalikes, and then there's like the gills and the caps and the hollow, all this sort
Yeah.
of stuff. So you want to like cross-reference and all that sort of thing.
Totally. Yeah. And I was going to say that like a lot of the medicinal mushrooms that grow here are what's called polypore mushrooms. And so the surface underside of the mushroom, they don't have gills. They have like a layer that's just pores. It kind of looks like skin.
Cool.
And there's like really very, very few poisonous polypore mushrooms that would be misidentified as a medicinal mushroom. And so here we have like our own species of reishi mushroom that it's not the Ganoderma lucidum that I mentioned before that's used in traditional Chinese medicine, but it's a local one, Ganoderma organense, and then turkey tail mushroom. And even with like turkey tail lookalikes, a lot of those are actually still medicinal. There's just not a lot of research on them, which I get into that a lot in my blog. But anyway, back to your question. Yeah, I think triple check, go out with an expert. And then also it's like once you do feel confident to go out, make sure you kind of have a plan. And so I never recommend going out foraging without a plan because that ends up being quite wasteful. And so it's like if
Mm.
you like know which mushroom you're looking for and already know what you want to do with it. Like if you're going to chop it up and dry it and save it for later, or if you're going to chop it up and you're going to make like a dual extraction, or you're going to put it into a soup, just like know what you're doing with it before
Mm.
you go out to get it. And then also, it's like never take more than 10% of what you see.
Oh,
Mm.
okay.
Yeah, I love that. Okay. So then if you were processing it, well, this is a question, I guess, both for if someone was wildcrafting, but also like what you noticed in the industry was that the processing of mushrooms in other brands of mushroom supplements you weren't happy with, yeah?
Yeah.
What were you noticing there from both a processing? Because maybe we'll talk about processing from the supplement point of view. And I'm
Yeah.
assuming it is probably different if someone was doing it in their kitchen, or is it similar?
Yeah. Well, it's a good question because the issue that I was seeing that I still see is that a lot of companies use just basically it's myceliated grain. So mycelium is the underground portion of the fungal organism that you don't usually see. What we see is the mushroom or the fruiting body. Um, and then the mycelium is like the underground network.
Mm-hmm.
And what I was seeing was that people were growing mycelium on, usually it's not going to be in soil. They're growing it like on some kind of grain, like oats or sorghum or rice or something like that. And the fungal organism would never actually fruit. So it would just be the mycelium that had taken over the grain, kind of like tempeh.
Mm.
And then they would powder that and put it in a capsule and call it a mushroom.
Mm.
There's been a lot of pushback against this,
Mm.
which has been great. One of my mentors, Jeff Chilton, who actually lives in Tasmania half the time.
What?
Um,
From America
yeah,
though, or like he's like
from
half Aussie,
Canada,
half
from
Canadian. Okay.
from British Columbia. Yeah.
That's crazy.
So yeah,
Chris
I
is
love
doing a
Jeff.
Google search right now. He's like, who is this Jeff who lives in Tasmania half the
Yeah,
time?
Jeff's. Yeah. Um, so anyway, so these myceliated grain capsules, it's like the mycelium is absolutely a medicinal part of the fungal organism,
Mm.
but it's diluted with whatever substrate or grain that it was growing on. And so when it says on the label, there's like 500 milligrams of Ganoderma lucidum or reishi in this product, it's like that's not true. Maybe there's
Wow,
250 milligrams and maybe the rest of it is grain.
that's
And so then the other
crazy.
issue there, I know. And then it's like if people have a sensitivity to
Mm.
rice or gluten or any of these grains, and they're going to react a certain way
Yeah, right.
to that product.
Was that put on the
Um,
label? Like, did it say may contain
it
gluten or
it
rice
will
or?
Yeah, so it should always say like
Mm.
in the under the nutrition facts where it says other ingredients, it'll
Mm.
usually say brown rice
Mm.
or something like that.
Yeah, but it's not
Um,
saying half the capsule might be brown rice.
exactly,
You're paying a lot
exactly.
for brown rice.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Wow.
And then the other issue there is that as the fungus fruits, there's a
Mm.
lot more medicinal compounds in that fruiting body in the mushroom.
Mm.
So you're going to get more of these kind of secondary metabolites, like they're called triterpenes, and a lot more of the medicinal polysaccharides in the fruiting body.
Mm.
And so if you think about like if anyone's processing it that way in their kitchen at home, it's like nobody in the history of forever has gone out and collected mycelium from the ground to use that as medicine. You always use the mushroom.
Mm.
And so, to answer your question, it's like, yeah, it's very different than how
Mm.
people would be processing and making medicine at home. And I think ultimately it's like definitely not the best way to be using the fungal organism as medicine at all. And so using just the fruiting body, it's not going to be diluted. There's not like extra grain in there. Like it's just the
Mm,
mushroom, and
mm,
that's what you want. That's what I want.
yeah.
And then I should mention, because I learned this recently, that there is one company that I know of that has figured out how to extract just the mycelium. And so with certain mushrooms, certain fungus like lion's mane, there is more of this one constituent that is really good for the brain, found in the mycelium.
Mm,
And so if you want more of those, they're called arenosines, then you do want more of the mycelium. And so there's this one company that can do that, and that's awesome. But
mm,
otherwise, most of the time, like 99% of the time, if you're getting lion's mane mycelium, it's going to be lion's mane mycelium tempeh grain
mm.
product.
Wow.
That's crazy. I remember
Good to
this.
know.
This is a little bit segue, but I think it's a similar thing. So this would have been years ago when I'm like, oh my gosh, like you can eat healthy and heal. And then I'm like, what else? What else don't I know? And I looked into toxic products and it's like, oh my gosh, like everything I'm using has chemicals. And so then I went and I started buying stuff that was labeled green and organic, including from, I think they've changed their game now and I won't mention their name, but a very well known organic skincare product, and I'm like $50 for this tiny little bottle of face cream. And then when I started getting more savvy and actually reading the ingredients, I'm like, oh my gosh, they're using I can't remember what the ingredient was, but it had like a 8 out of 10 rating in terms of chemical danger. So anything
Uh-huh.
but low, what, 1 0 to 3 is like considered natural, healthy, or neutral. And yeah, it had a really high toxic load, and I'm just like, how can people how can people get away with this? How can brands get away with this? It's crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like I said, there's been a lot of pushback, especially from my mentor Jeff Chilton, with like a mushroom is a mushroom, and you cannot put mushroom on the label if the product is myceliated grain.
Mm,
Cool.
yeah. And
Yeah.
so is that changing now, or should consumers be more savvy with who they're purchasing from? So like from you, for example.
Yeah, consumers absolutely need to double check. Like, I think that it is slowly shifting, but there are still, like, I've found supplements recently at the grocery store that say mushroom on the label, and I look at the back and it says mycelium and
Mm,
grain.
Yeah, right.
So yeah, people need to be looking at both the front and the back of the
yeah.
label, and just because it says mushroom does not mean that it is mushroom.
Yeah. Yeah.
Organic. Uh, Natural.
Green is one because, well, organic is, I don't know in USA, I don't even know the specific percentage in Australia, but you only need so many ingredients to be able to say this is an organic product.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
Um,
and then natural just like doesn't really mean anything at all.
no,
Yeah.
or green. This is a green product.
This, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. The label will be like a green or a brown color, and it'll be like organics with an X. And
Oh no. Yeah.
oh dear.
So
You can
have
put
you,
anything on a label.
Yeah.
so with your mushroom products, then the supplements, like have you had stories from consumers who have used yours and they're like, oh my gosh, like I thought I was taking mushroom supplements, but when I tried your brand, this and this changed for me. Like have you noticed those
Oh yeah. Yeah,
experiences of
definitely.
people? Yeah.
I have. Yeah. And I've also had I mention my patients a lot because in the US, naturopaths can be physicians. And so I've had many patients who have said that like they didn't respond well to
Mm.
mushroom products, or like it made them sick and they thought they were allergic to them.
Mm.
And and then they've tried my supplement line and then
Mm.
they're fine and they actually like feel better. And I think yeah, a lot of that had to do with the myceliated grain. But I've seen that too,
Mm.
even just with like so I use my immune formula a lot for people who have like compromised immune systems, or who are like going through chemotherapy to use as adjunctive care to help bring up their white blood cell counts and keep their immune system strong. I've seen people be like, oh, well, mushrooms, like they don't really, they haven't helped me in the past. And then they start taking, the immune formula and their white blood cells are like in normal range. And so it's really
Yeah,
fun
that's
to kind of
awesome.
get to now have like the medical side of my mushroom
Mm,
journey. And I get
mm,
to like prescribe and treat like based on like mushroom therapy stuff. And I mean, they're not like, I don't use mushrooms all the time with all of my patients, but
mm.
when I do, it's exciting. And especially, yeah, to see people really respond well and
Yeah.
see changes. And I have a lot of, yeah, a lot of good friends that are like this one friend in particular who's been using the immune formula for a long time. And she's like in the comedy scene in New York City and like at clubs and just like around people all the time. And she used to be getting sick a lot. And she's just, yeah, she's like amazed. She's like, I don't get sick anymore. Yeah, great.
That's so good.
That's awesome.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah. This has been great because, like, personally, again, I wasn't trained in any of my trainings to use mushrooms. And so I don't know if you've noticed this with other practices, but it's like, well, if this thing that it has worked for a really long time, it kind of like you just stay in the lane.
Of course.
So
Yeah.
I've got my protocols, but now I'm like, oh, I'm gonna experiment with some mushrooms.
I want to go foraging.
Yeah.
I want to connect with Jeff if he's in Tassie. I want to go hook up and learn some
You
stuff.
should. Yeah.
Our,
That's so
Yeah.
our oldest daughter, oh, maybe, okay, she's currently obsessed with birds, but probably before birds it was mushrooms. So she even has like mushroom clothes and with mushrooms
I
all
love
over them.
it.
And she loves
Oh yeah.
love taking photos, but far out, I think she'd just gobble up foraging. It would be amazing.
Yeah. I'm like my mushroom children's book collection keeps growing. It's like because I love mushrooms and my husband has this mushroom supplement company with me. It's like everyone just we have a 14-month-old and everything is like mushroom themed. Every gift, every stuffed
Yes.
animal, it's like
Yeah. And
his
do
room is
people
like
give
painted. There's little mushrooms everywhere.
cute? And do
So
people
funny.
give you like mushroom earrings, mushroom
Of
skirt?
course. Mushroom everything. Yeah, I do
I
like
love it.
other things, but I do love mushrooms too.
They're pretty cute.
They are cute. They're very beautiful.
You can easily turn a mushroom into a animated character. Like I'm just looking
Oh,
at
definitely.
like what have I got up on my screen? I've
Do you
got
want to?
some
Do you want a new business idea? Like create a children's book or children's TV show all about mushrooms.
I want to grow some
Yeah.
too. This has been inspiring.
Yeah.
I'm
Oh,
pumped.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's
What would you?
great.
What? Okay, here we go. What would you recommend for a avid home gardener who wants to energy, mood, gut, just something kind of maybe that crosses all of those things, or
that you could grow at home in
Yeah.
your backyard
yeah, just something cool.
in Tasmania.
Or wherever. Yeah.
Chris is like asking for a friend, but actually just personally asking
For
a
our
question.
listeners, me and. Well, what's a good couple of mushrooms that
Is that even a thing? Like, can people actually grow it in their backyard, or is
Yeah,
it better
so you
to
can
forage
get like
wildly?
you can get like a mushroom, you can get a log and then you can inoculate it
Oh,
with
that'd be pretty.
yeah, like a mushroom. You can probably get like mushroom plugs somewhere at like a
Yeah.
garden store maybe
There's
or
definitely stuff
from
around our
yeah.
area. Yeah.
Yeah,
kick?
so you can yeah, you can inoculate some logs and see what happens. It might take some time, but that would be fun.
What does
Yeah, and
inoculate a
people
log
yeah.
mean? What does that mean?
Yeah, so the way that mushrooms make more of themselves is that once the fungal organism fruits, then it releases spores out of either, it's the polypore surface or the gills, and so release the spores, and then those spores, depending on the mushroom, will usually, be swept away in the wind. There's some mushrooms where those spores will actually end up like on the cap, like the top of the mushroom. And then it'll be like picked up by different insects and wind and whatever. And then it will then go and inoculate or like end up on another tree somewhere or in the soil somewhere. And if it's the right conditions, then it will the hyphae will grow and mycelium will grow, and then new mushroom will fruit. And that's how mushrooms make more of themselves. So to inoculate a log, you're basically taking I don't know, I think it's probably like some of the mycelium that's like clumped up, and then you plug it. I'm really more of like a wildcrafter, medicine maker person than a grower, but yeah.
Why not both?
Can I
love it.
Can I ask a follow-up question too? So whether it's like you've inoculated a log or it's wild, once you pick it, does it regrow in the same spot, or do you have to seed it again or inoculate it again?
So the mycelium is already there and taken over that log, and so it will usually just fruit again. And some mushrooms there's like annual mushrooms where it'll just like fruit once a year, just like plants. And then there's like perennial where it'll just kind of like stay fruited for longer. So it's like the reishi mushroom is a good example of an annual where it like fruits in the like late summer, early fall. And then after it releases its spores, then the fruit has like done its job. It's spread its seed. And so then it'll rot off or it'll be picked or whatever. And then that log already has the mycelium in it. And so another fruit will grow the following year.
So interesting. Oh, yeah. Oh, thank you so much. I've learned so much, and I'm curious with digging into all of it. Foraging, growing, and using supplements with our family, but also clients, and talking about supplements. So if someone wants to check out your lucidum range, medicinal mushrooms, where can they find them? We'll make sure we pop all the links in the show notes.
Yeah, they can find them on our website, lucidummedicinals.com.
There you go.
There we go.
There it is.
And you're kindly gifting our listeners 15% discount if they use the code, or when they use the code burnout in capitals.
Yes.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yes.
So good. Thank you. And also if, whether it's a health seeker or a practitioner who wants to find out more about what you do, learning from you, being healed by you, is that your website? So you've got Dr. Anna.
DrAnnaSitkoff.com.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect.
Here it is.
Yeah. Oh. Wow. Yeah.
I'm a Googling fiend. I love it.
Yeah, you're quick. That's great.
Awesome.
So good.
All right. Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for having me. This was a really nice conversation.
It's been lovely.
It was awesome. I'm inspired.
Yeah, let's all dream
pumped
about mushrooms now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know what my next couple of books are going to be.
Oh, yeah. Chris gets on. Definitely. Oh, when you said, when I learn something, I go deep. I'm like that, but Chris is like that times 10. And it's really random stuff too. So at the moment it is gardening, and our whole back and front yard is like a jungle now. Whereas before it was just like barren grass. So thank you. I'm going to thank you in advance, because we're going to have mushrooms growing out of our ear holes very shortly.
This is all you need to do, to inspire me to do something that you want to do. You just get a podcast guest on that I've got no idea about, and it's just wow, this is a good conversation. I'm like, yes, I'll do the thing. And Philly's like, excellent.
Okay. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Thanks, as Anna. Well. Thank you so much for listening. We so appreciate you. If you'd like to give us extra smiles, drop us a review and spread the love by sharing this episode.
You can also rate your own state of burnout and the root cause contributors by taking our Ending Body Burnout Assessment on our website. And if you're interested in learning about our group or one-on-one Ending Body Burnout programs, shoot us a DM via Instagram or Facebook.
Have the best day ever.